Hey everybody, John here, All Hickory Forge. Welcome back. Sorry I haven't posted much lately. I've been busy and my forge needed to be relined and stuff like that. And I don't really want to just put out filler content. I want to put out stuff that you people will enjoy watching and actually want to watch me do. So what we're making today is a spoon knife or a spoon carving knife. If you don't know what one of those is, here's what we're going after. Something similar to this. I kind of want to make a bigger one. This is a Mora spoon carving knife, used for carving spoons, cups, bowls, and such. So I got a piece of 3/16 inch thick 1095, cut it 1/2 inch wide by about 4 inches long. This should be more than enough material to make the blade, so let's get on that. So first thing we're going to do is just take the end of this thing and pull a point out of it. So at this stage I'm just dressing up the taper, making it nice and even. So what we got going, what we got to do now is make the tang. So we're going to take the area we didn't taper out, prop it up on the edge of the anvil and do a set down, start bringing that out. So just going to keep working that tang out. You lose heat pretty quick with this small stock, so it's slow going. So here's what we got after roughing the tang in. Now what I need to do is taper this thing towards the tip, because right now it's way too thick. As well as keep dressing up the shape. So see how it's thicker back here towards the back and it tapers more towards the tip? I'm creating what's called a distal taper, which is going to make for a finer point, which will be useful in spoon carving, or carving in general for that matter. So I've got my distal taper forged in. Now it's time to forge down the bevel. So just going to hold it at an angle, strike at an angle, starting at the spine, bring the metal towards the edge. As you forge down bevels, blades are naturally going to want to curve because you're moving more metal towards the edge than you are the back, so you have to kind of fight that as you go. Just keep bringing those bevels down. So I've got my blade finished forging and it's normalizing right now. While that cools, I've decided to go ahead and start on the handle. I'm going to be using a piece of this elk antler my buddy James over at County Line Forge gave me. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. I've never actually used antler as a handle material, so I have not the slightest clue how to work with it, so I've just marked out roughly where I want to cut it, and I'm going to cut it on my bandsaw. Alright, let's see what we can do here. I'd say that works pretty well. So my blade blank's good and cool now, so now it's time to go ahead and do the grind. I've actually got a 120 grit belt on here to start because there's not a whole lot of material to remove. Now, before I heat treat this, or before I bend and heat treat this thing, I'm actually going to take it all the way up the grits and thin down the edge considerably more than I would with a normal knife, because once it's curved, grinding on it's going to be a huge pain, and all I really want to do after that is sharpen it. So we'll take it all the way up to 600 grit and get this guy ready for So, now it's time to bend this thing around, so we need to go that way, kind of at first. And I'm being very gentle. I don't want to actually forge the metal, I just want to bend it. Throw it on the ground really quick. So again, being really gentle. Pretty happy with that, I think. So, nothing fancy here, 1095 oil quench steel. I'm just going to be careful not to harden the tang. Tempering this thing is going to be kind of tricky because the edge is already so thin, it's basically ready to be sharpened. So I'm just going to hold it in a pair of vice grips and gently paint the heat over the whole thing until I get kind of a light straw. And then I'll just dunk it in some water to rest the temper. I don't know if you can see or not. Kind of a light straw around the whole edge. So my theory on how I'm going to sharpen this thing, like I said, it only actually needs to be beveled on the outside, so I'm just going to take it kind of to the slack of my belt and run that whole edge along there very, very gently. Got a little jar of water here to keep it cool as I go to preserve the temper. Hopefully that works. If it doesn't work, I'll cheat and use my work sharp. Don't judge me. think that worked. It certainly feels sharp. So to mount the blade into the handle, I'm going to be using this pine pitch glue I made a couple summers back when I was on a camping trip. Basically what it is, it's rendered pine sap mixed with charcoal powder. When it's hot, it's very pliable, but it dries very, very hard. You know, you can kind of hear that. So basically I'll just heat it up, fill in the cavity in the antler, press it into it, and then dunk it in some cold water to cool it off, and that should hold it in there rock solid. So I got my forge going at a low heat, so I'm just going to kind of heat up the pitch just a little bit at a time so it'll drip a little bit. I'm going to drip it into the antler. You see what I'm doing? Kind of. It's kind of tricky to work with because it hardens up pretty quick. And you really don't want to get it on your hands because it will burn you. Just making sure it's good and full. Pretty full, so now I should be able to just set the tang of my knife in there where I want it to go. Ah, come on, it's getting stuck. That's annoying. Man, now it won't come out of there neither. Alright, let me think for a second. So I got it in there. What I ended up actually having to do was kind of melt the pitch into the hole I drilled in the antler and then get a little bit of heat, just enough to warm it up, not to damage the temper onto the tang of the knife, and kind of push it into it, but it's in there rock solid now. I'm probably going to put a copper pin in it just for good measure, as well as buff off all this excess pitch, strop the edge, and buff up this antler as well, and this baby's done. So, here it is all done. Antler took a polish real nice. I went ahead and put a copper pin in there, just for added strength. Probably didn't need it, but it certainly didn't hurt anything. As you can see, quite a bit larger than my Mora spoon knife. And just as a proof of concept of what it's for, say you're working on a spoon, you can take this guy, you get in there and scoop out the wood to make the bowl, you know, just like that, kind of. You can kind of spin it around, get down in there. Use the tip to get in small areas. So there you go. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. Made this Kuxo with a spoon knife a couple years back. So anyway, there you go. So there you go. One large spoon knife forged from some 1095, held in with some homemade pitch glue, copper pin, antler handle. It's pretty cool. It looks Viking-y. So it's also worth mentioning that tools like this are for green woodworking. If it looked like I was kind of having a little trouble carving on that dry pallet wood over there, that's precisely because it's dry pallet wood, and these are meant to be used on living softwoods. So, you know, don't lose faith in a spoon knife based on my poor ability of using one. But anyway, if you like what you saw, please like, share, subscribe. Got lots more cool stuff coming. Got some big projects coming up in the near future. And again, thanks for watching.